Welcome home. It's always good to see you. Thanks for coming back. This is Chapter 3 in the series of Know Your Enemy, Reframing PTSD. You can make a difference in your life. Look at this thing. I took the picture that the blade up there is almost as tall as I am, and yet it pales in comparison to the potential capability of you. You are limitless. My goal is to prove it to you. Where we've been, we're going to talk some about that. We started with basics from the first sets, first two. I hope that you've watched them. We talked about goal setting. I hope you've written them down. Establishing a firewall of goodness. Seeing in the way of gratitude. Exercising, the start of that, which is the start of releasing of endorphins. The logs we covered about. Being good detectives on our diet. See if there's any food allergies that are contributing to what we're dealing with. And then in that series, the last one was memorizing. Memorizing the positive to push out the negative. Why did we start with the basics? As we go more into techniques, if the basics aren't established, they keep coming back feeding the negative, sabotaging our efforts. In essence, sabotaging the techniques and defeating the effort. We will be going into more coming up where we're going on the heart and the spirit. On the heart, teachings of Dr. Bradley Nelson in his book, The Emotional Code. His work is stunning. We'll get into the ways of the spirit, the most powerful of all. I can hardly wait to get there. As a good comparative to the basics in the realms of martial arts, the white belt, where all the basics are learned. The basics being learned, attempting to get towards the black belt, the coveted black belt. Yet the tools of the white belt are what make the black belt. And yet from the teachings of James DeMille, one of my tremendous mentors, the Grand Master of Wing Chun Do, Bruce Lee's original student. From his concepts and teachings, I got this from him, sewn right in the black belt, the white belt. For a black belt is a white belt that's continually learning and growing and changing and expanding. No, I'm not a black belt. But I am a white belt that's continuing to learn and will forever. I was doing some more homework on seeing if I was going to fit into their category of copyright infringement. I went to their website. You already know from the first two series how much I think of the Chicken Soup or the Soul series. Please consider doing this. Go to their website, it's posted here, and go to the newsletter sign up. You have to scroll down. And once a week for free, or once a day, they'll send you emails of one story. Can we ever have too much positive and goodness put into us? No. And for those of you that are older, as you see a YouTube video, underneath this video, you'll see a little description box. There's very little written in there. You see where it says see more. Just hit that with your mouse, and then it'll unscroll all the rest of it. So I have links to this and several others. So anything you see with HTTP in front of it, just click on it. It'll go right to their website. I've learned a lot from these people. I hope to meet them someday. I want you to look at this for a while. You see the opposites. Notice the barrier that's between the two. As you look at the column here in the positive, as you look at each one of those, can we say that that represents goodness? I think we can. What about this side? Have you ever noticed, and you worked at someplace for a long time where the whole atmosphere was negative? You ever had a negative boss that was always degrading you? Pretty hard not to take that home with you. Without combat experiences. All of you that are first responders or law enforcement agencies are dealing with this all day long. You and the first responders, same thing. And even any of us, from our childhood, we could have been brought up in a less than desirable beginning and be dealing with the negative all the time. If we're over here, does that mean that we're wicked? No. It just shows us what we're up against. As human beings, we're really good about dragging this baggage along with us, just piling it up and keep on moving because we don't know how to get rid of it. Are you sensitive and you sense things that most other people don't? When I was a kid, I sensed a lot of this. Being sensitive was a curse to me. I always had my feelings hurt. But as I got older, started dealing in these realms. What a blessing it's been to me. Dealing in the ways of the Spirit, I sense and feel that. So it's no longer a curse to me. So how do we get from here to here? That's what these talks are all about. Let me go back to the very first. You see the shadow on the past. Our past can be shadowy. But as I explained in the original video of this timeline, our past, we all agreed that we are a byproduct of our previous experiences. That's what makes us what we are today. And either they can help or hinder us as we're trying to get over obstacles. And obstacles can be trials, temptations, anything. So what we're doing is we're learning all these tools as I'm presenting them. So here, when we're marching down the road and we're gaining these tools and using them, therefore, as we use them and they're behind us, therefore we are. That's what the power of gaining new attributes and new habits that are good. That's what we're building to. With them in our past, we can move forward. In essence, tipping the scales of life. In life, where we choose to dwell or linger is what will be. I'm hoping that, and please choose the positive. There's no hope, no peace over there. As an example, when was the last time a negative thought ever led you in the right direction? The answer is never. Let me cover just a few categories. PTSD, or any significant emotional event. Post-traumatic stress disorder has many categories. Let me talk about just three. Visual. We could have seen something so horrific beyond our normal that it's affected us. We could have made mistakes. We all make mistakes. And I marvel at, the more you dare to be great, the greater your mistake can be. How do we get past them? We can see and go through things that literally are fear, terror, and virtually horror to us. Over the years, I've asked many, many people, how many of you were ever taught in your youth to deal with a significant emotional event? Maybe in school or at home. I've never had a single person raise their hand. Ever. Now combine these significant emotional events. Now let's add something to them. This is how much it can be, well, not so much complex, but how many contributing factors there can be. Let me go round robin and start in that corner, and they'll be self-explanatory. So to our PTSD events we just talked about, contributing factors to that can be hormone, blood sugar imbalance. Let me give you a quick example of the blood sugar. When I was younger, I took my EMT training through Seattle Fire Department. Lieutenant Thaddeus Mercer, I'll never forget him. What a teacher. He had arms on him that big around. He surely had your attention in class. But what they would teach us for to recognize if we're dealing with blood sugar, fruity breath, extreme agitation, or they almost appear of drunkenness. I don't question the State Patrol has their hands full coming up upon somebody. Are they really drunk? Or is this fruity breath telling me that they're in diabetic trouble here, almost in diabetic shock? Those can be huge contributing factors to us, especially being agitated. As I'd be down at Harborview with the paramedics, I'll never forget how many people would come up to them that they'd helped previously, would come up to them and apologize and say, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be so rude to you. Because they were out of their zone of the balance of blood sugar. Moving on to toxins and chemicals, that's actually a huge category. In there would be, that's how I kind of started earlier with food. We can eat things that put us into a reaction and make our blood sugar off. So watching our diet, we can be getting around chemicals at work, just chemicals in our atmosphere. What about alcohol? That's in this category. Of all the things I've seen in my life, alcohol, that revolving door of depression, more alcohol, more depression, more alcohol. It virtually opens the doorway. Let me rephrase that, it opens a freeway to the negativity. Illegal drugs, legal drugs. Most of us with PTSD have tried self-medicating. Doesn't work well. Combination of past PTSD events. We can stack them up one after another because we don't know how to get rid of them. Lastly, external forces. Let the bright light represent goodness. Let the darkness represent evil. Whatever we decide to let in there, into us, is what will be. Do you know how many of my friends died from PTSD events and stacking these categories in with them? Almost all of them. I miss them. They didn't know about any of this stuff. This ring around my finger was from 22kill.com. At the time I got it, it was estimated 20 guys a day who were valiant warriors are killing themselves. What it is today, I don't know. You don't hear any statistics on suicide. It's kind of being kept from us. This will be my life's work forever. Trying to present these materials and reaching out, even if just one could be saved. The time won't have been in vain. So negative possibilities, let me cover 3 of them here. These first 2, negative thoughts and negative external forces, is what we're going to be leading into one more tool to deal with that today. The negative trapped emotions will be waiting. And that's extremely powerful. I already alluded to him. Dr. Bradley Nelson, an incredible human being. The emotional code, the body code, they're wonderful techniques. We'll be focusing on tool number 7, the push, which can really help us with the first 2. From a gifted doctor at church, as a dear friend. I kept asking him about things of the brain. He worked with the brain a lot. And he said, I just finished a book by Dr. Norman Doidge. He said, you might want to get that. So I did. I got 2 of them. The Brain That Heals Itself, The Brain That Changes, Dr. Norman Doidge. So as I was reading in those, I got led to this, because it's studying the realms of neuroplasticity. I got led to Dr. Golden and Dr. Moskowitz's work. Dr. Moskowitz had had a significant event in his life where pain, and he had developed chronic pain, They've changed their whole career to this. One of the things that they do, this is an incredible manual. And what I marveled at neuroplasticity, and I use that in all these realms and teachings. The old school of doctors used to say, this part of the brain is injured, that's it. Whereas the realms of neuroplasticity, these newer doctors, and these books have just tons of information about it. I'm just leading you to them, of how neurological, meaning the brain, and plasticity, the brain can change and is fluid, it's adaptable. So here's their website, especially if you're focused, if you're dealing with pain, you need to get this. It is extremely good. I've put several pictures in and I'll be explaining it. Here's their website, neuroplastic.com. I'll have a link to it in the description box below. There's many, many things in there. I couldn't even begin to cover them all. It's well worth looking into. Here's a picture. I know I got to fire the lighting guy. Here's a picture from one of this. I'm giving them credit here. It was 3 o'clock in the morning when I came to this section. I was stunned. This is what I was looking for. I'll give you a brief explanation. The amygdala, part of our fight or flight circuit in the brain, has its own memory, the hippocampus. So the two in conjunction are needed when we need this fight or flight to bring itself forward. Now, as an example, I'm walking across the street and I'm walking through a walking zone and there's a bus roaring toward me that's going to run that red light. Do I want to stop and use the executive branch of the brain and go, should I jump? Should I jump backwards? Or maybe should I run? Of course not. The executive branch shuts down and instantly shunts to the amygdala and the hippocampus, in which case I can jump or would instantly know. It works wonderfully. It saves our life. All kinds of things are in play there. There's a beautiful description in this book. Secretion of cortisol, of some of the other hormones. Anyway, a lot goes into that. So as we're moving forward, let me give you a quick example of my personal life. Excuse me. What if we don't want that to play an effect? We want to use logic. So I was a Bering Sea fisherman most of my life. And as I was trying to change my life about midway through my career, instead of being a beer drinking rocker, I thought, let me try something different. So I got home off of a rotation once and I thought, let me try the symphony. So I looked up the Seattle Symphony, ordered a really nice tuxedo, invited my mother and a female friend that I knew would enjoy going. We all got dressed up and went to the Seattle Symphony. It was stunning. We had box seats. Here was a 15-year-old violinist, a virtuoso from Korea. She was stunning. She played for an hour with a symphony behind her. It was really good, and it just felt good to do something new and different. So as we were leaving, the traffic all got jammed up. I tried to be the smart way and go out the back way of Queen Anne Hill. When I got to where I was going, it just gridlocked. So I'm sitting there and I'm kind of fuming a little bit, but I thought, we just had a wonderful evening. And a guy, as I look over to my left, honks at me and he flips me off. Bam! I was like a rocket out of that car. And I'm over the side of his car and I'm ready to smash his window out and him with it. And as I looked, his eyes were this big around. As I looked up, my mother's eyes were this big around. And I looked around, all these people are staring at me. I'm in a tuxedo in the middle of downtown Seattle, ready to smash this guy. I didn't even know what for. But I now know the amygdala had caused a reaction. There was something in there that elicited. It's separate memory. The amygdala was driving the bus. It was driving my reaction. I got back in the car. Once again, you know how many of our people that we love have died from not knowing how to deal with this. Excuse me. Dr. Moskowitz, Dr. Golden, Thank you. And all of you that have done research. The rest of my life I'll spend presenting tools. We're just getting started. And techniques to deal with this. It's extremely powerful. There is hope. Another one of their slides, this is the next page, taken right from their manual. They say the manual, the pictures are all in color. It's wonderfully done. So the good news is the olfactory bulb up here in our nasal. I read it has anywhere from 400 to 800 sensors in there. I don't know exactly how many, but I've read both accounts. But either way, they are in tune to a significant smell. The scent circuit is extremely powerful. As an example, smell of homemade bread. What kind of memory does that elicit? You might even taste the butter dripping off of there, or the honey or whatever you would put on it. What about a perfume or something like that? An aroma that might remember a romantic interlude. Yeah, so our scent system's extremely powerful. That's how aromatherapy works. We'll be dealing with aromatherapy. They've actually mapped out different scents that can block things like system P or different things in our brain. Substance P, an electrolyte, not electrolyte, but a neurotransmitter, stumbling. You ever notice how many things can go wrong at once? We all know what bombarded means, especially if you're trying to do good. Can we likewise bombard ourselves with the positive? We can. It's called stacking. That's what I call it. We'll be starting to stack all these techniques. So here's a start. When we're hammered with negativity, and those of you that had that happen, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're bombarded and everything's going wrong, our own thoughts or external influences, I want you to just stop. Envision this stop sign. As we're going to tool number 7, the push. Using faith and positive affirmation. Faith is how everything works. If you don't have any faith that isn't going to work, it probably won't. Positive affirmation, we can never have enough of it. If you can, if you're in a situation where you can sit down, close your eyes, and with love. If you use anger, you'll only be feeding the situation. So with love, I want you to exert mentally everything that you've got with all your might. And pushing, some people believe also in redirecting. There's many different disciplines. But I push. I can almost feel lightning bolts coming out of my head. I can feel the top of my head tingle. As I'm pushing back, then I start stacking things in there. But as an example, when I'm doing my push-ups each morning, as I'm getting to near the very end, trying to get a few more so I can gain strength, I'll be sitting there and I'm near the end and my arms are burning and my chest is burning. And just when I think I can't do anymore, I'll draw on that inner gut courage in and I'll keep pushing until I physically can't move. That kind of energy. That's why I started with it. That was in our first intro, so that you would understand what I'm talking about when we're here. Other techniques, envision white light going with that energy. Other disciplines use different colors, but once again, push with love. Also, envision in your field of expertise. In the manual we just been talking about, I read about several different people that use giant water hoses to push back and quench that pain if it was a sensation of a fire pain. I don't question it could have been a guy from the fire department. He's using what he knows works. You ever hung on to a fire hose? Their pressure is tremendous. They'll blow apart anything that you might be hitting. Or what about a heavy equipment operator using that dozer that we used at the beginning of this? Pushing back. Use your field of expertise. Be clever. And lastly, That's what I always use. Command in the name of Jesus Christ. There's tremendous and unlimited power here. Unlimited power to heal. Unlimited power to comfort. Unlimited power to uplift. As is written, draw near to me, and I will draw near unto you. That's not a promise I'm making. It's one that they're making. Any of you that are angry with God, please consider this. Being angry with our Father in heaven is like being stranded out in an inferno of a desert and looking to the horizon and seeing no hope or future, and being angry with the one that's bringing you shade and cool water. What will sabotage this techniques? We already talked about them. Just let me quickly review. All of these, except for the goodness, can have a tremendous effect on sabotaging us. We've already talked about them. Take them seriously. They're contributing factors in what we deal with. When keeping the negative at bay, these tools will work. So I'm on my way to meet my brother. I'm over in Seattle. So my radio stations, even though on the same number, I was in a different station. And all of a sudden I hear this guy talking about the amygdala and hippocampus and different things like that. And I go, wow, that's what I talk a lot about. And unbeknownst to me, it was Dr.Daniel. So I got to where I was going. I sat there and waited. Who is this guy? And what book's he talking about? I ordered it that night. I ordered it used. The best $6 I've ever spent. There's tremendous peace, power, and knowledge in this book. Please get it. You need to attain a greater wisdom than what my short videos are talking about. It'll be in here, and that other manual we talked about. In here, when I first heard him talk, and I'm waiting for permission back from them for copyright infringement to show pictures of the SPECT scan. So all the things I talk about, he's got pictures that prove it. The SPECT scan is single photon computed tomography. Try saying that quick 3 times. He's got over 100,000 of them at the time. So I can hardly wait to show you how either different parts of our brain can be overactive or underactive. He gives away so much of his techniques in here. I'm greatly appreciative to you, Dr. Amen. He knows that not everybody has the money for a SPECT scan. Also put in here, here's 2 of his different websites. My Brain Fit for Life is probably the bigger. They're both very good. They have libraries of pictures of brain scans. When I started homing in on myself as to what part of my brain was overactive, he's got in there descriptions of herbs and things that I started making my own tonics, and they really helped me. He's got lists, questionnaires, and if you fill those out, you just do it by yourself. Nobody else has to see it. It will start homing in from his many, many years of practice what area you're dealing with. I can't say enough. You want to go to this. This is stunning. All his work. He's a prolific writer. If you could see behind me, I got all his books piled up. So, input to the amygdala is another aspect. Remember, to begin with, I started asking you to put in something goodness every day. I drown myself with goodness. If you can read this, the print might be too small, but this is talking about the insula. I've read several different accounts where mirror neurons are stored. This is one of them. The insula has a direct link to the amygdala, or a contributing link to the amygdala. Be careful with my words. So that's why I always put something good in. Spend your days when you have time doing that. And my conclusion, against all odds, you're making it against all odds. See others around you that are making it against all odds. Go up and talk to them. I can't tell you how many incidents I've had. They truly inspired me, and I'm grateful for them, for that run-in. Look for them. They're all around us. Be inspired and live with valor.